Welcome to the third 6 weeks Kindergarten ELAR SLAR Curriculum Preview. Let's get rolling. The reading expectations for this 6 weeks are that kids will be working independently for 15 minutes at a time. I know that's probably a little bit of a stretch, but we really need them to begin working independently. Uh, They need to be secure all their upper and lowercase letters, including knowing the letter, identifying it, producing the sound, and forming the letter correctly. So that's something that if they haven't gotten there yet, we need to really push this. This needs to be secured by Christmas. We want to have them satisfactory at a text level A. And we're going to look in just a few minutes at what does that look like? What does a text level A look like? So we really want them at mastery to really be at that text level A, being using that text level. Strong skills, we have some that we're going to be in a text level B. We'll look at what that text looks like. Some of the things that we want them to be doing is we want them to make words by changing the initial consonant in a word, looking at how words work. They need to be reading at least 15 high-frequency words in isolation and in context. And as they start reading with comprehension, and we're going to begin talking about fluency and how a good reader sounds. And then we're going to start gap stopper, continuing and reinforcing gap stopper routine to make predictions and think about text in our reading. So what does a level A look like when we're looking at a level A text? Got this right straight from the Continuum of Literacy Learning. It's a great resource for us. It tells us about what a level A looks like. I'm not going to read this to you because you'll have this PowerPoint to look back through, but we just know that it's very short, predictable sentences, lots of supported by pictures. And really vocabulary that the children are familiar with, so they really will have a great, they'll be successful with it. So they're just learning how print works. They're learning about one-to-one matching. This is when it's really important that you have one-to-one with their finger, thinking about seeing if they go from left to right, differentiating between the print and the pictures and how they go together. And then we're beginning to notice each letter's distinct feature, using all, now that they know their letters and sounds, how did that come together, and learning those high frequency words. We take a look at B, and it just steps up, and we have the same repetitive thing that we have, but we have 2 or more lines of text on each page, so we're beginning to see where we're having more words on the page. And as they get into a level B, they're just getting stronger at understanding the connection between sounds and letters. But always find the continuum very interesting to do if you're really wanting to understand the reading behaviors at each level. So that's a great resource for you. As we're looking at the word study this 6 weeks, we want to continue to identify all those upper and lowercase letters and the sounds they make in the formation. If you have kids that are not there yet, this would be where you might be pulling them back into small groups, since not all students might be there. Fountains of Pinnell, in pages 211 from 287, there's some rich activities about really securing those letters, upper and lowercase letters. Here's your snap words for the 6 weeks: me, we, he, she, thee. So you can take a look. Then in a few minutes you're going to notice that we also have the standard of pronouns. So putting those two together. I've included this time in the curriculum preview places and treasures where I feel like that the story might lend itself to helping you to teach those standards and to reinforce those standards. So here are the new sight words that we want to secure. Also, we want, with phonemic awareness, which is so very important, that we have lessons on blending onset and rhymes to form simple words, teaching kids how you blend. Now that you know your letters and sounds, how do you blend those? Fountains and Pinnell has some great lessons on the phonemic awareness, page 19 and 20, which are really, you could teach as a focus lesson and move those right into a workstation. Here again is your treasures piece where you might find some great mentor text to show kids and have kids practice onset and rhyme in your focus lesson. Also, blend spoken phonemes to form one-syllable words. Once again, we have Fountains and Pinnell. Look at lesson 24 and 25. And then isolate the initial sound in one-syllable words, playing with language. We need kids really exploring how this English language works. And Fountains of Pinnell has a great lesson on lesson 25 for that. Your word wall is so essential, especially in the lower grades, using them to really have kids be accountable. In the overview, we gave you a little activity called table toss, just to kind of show you how that really needs to be very interactive. Kids, you need to be teaching them how to look up at that word wall and how to play and interact with it. You just had a great um, professional development on that. Now, looking at still word work, using sight words and charts and glossaries to build simple sentences that give facts about familiar topics they're studying. So, teaching kids about how to build that simple sentence. So, lots of activity, having kids cut up words, giving them like a little puzzle and say, okay, we're going to make a sentence, and just playing with words and how they work, how sentences go together. And then they can start recording these sentences in their new writing notebook. Your grammar alert for this 6 weeks is pronouns, and that's what your sight words are, but helping kids to understand. And what I really like about this standard is we need to understand that it says understand and use. So it's not that we need for them to understand the definition of pronouns, but is how are pronouns used in our language and how they are substituted for that noun. So when they want to use it to keep repeating dad said, that you can substitute dad with he. And so it's just showing them how pronouns work in their reading and in their writing. The academic vocabulary, remember we have that new added piece. So here are your added things, and these are some of the words that we feel like are extremely important. They come from Lead Forward, about kids understanding words and academic words they use. So let's take a look at with our lead standard being your phonics standard K.3b and K.3h, in just beginning reading skills and phonics. They're expected to decode regular words in text, that those simple patterns, and then being able to decode syllables and words into text and independent of context. And how you're going to do that is just by showing them text, mentor text, and modeling in front of them how when you're reading a word, how when you come to it, that what do you look at. Of course, it says also independent, so you might do a lot of acknowledging and playing with words, still playing with words and seeing how they go together. As you're doing that, you want to keep in mind some of the things that we want for them to do when they're in a text, how to be problem solvers when they come to a word they don't know. So you look for the clues in the pictures, you look at the first letter and get your mouth ready, you break the words into parts, you go back and reread, think about what makes sense, read ahead to find out what the sentence is about. So here you have 6 different strategies. So each week during the 6 weeks, I would say to really focus on each one, and then make some anchor charts that really help kids to know that when they're in text, their job is to problem solve and to figure out what that unknown word is, and that to go back and reread when it doesn't make sense. So those are the ways that you're going to really, these are your lead standards. This is what you're really looking for, is teaching kids to decode words in text. The other partner standard is we want to make sure that kids are reading recognizing sensory detail in stories, and how authors use that to really help us understand and visualize. In poetry, we want them to continue to recite a poem a week, and also bring in those sensory details and identify similarities in word sounds with using a poem. So use those poems every week. In informational text, we want them to be able to retell important facts in a text heard or read. So your reading and writing really will go here really well together, is teaching them to write that sentence about what was the really important fact we learned in that informational text this week. Your close reading is so important, doing that listening and taking real small pieces of text to show kids how to really recognize sensory details, how to make inferences from what the author is telling us. So retelling In your treasure book, there's several units there that will help you um, in literary text and then in informational text as well. We also want to hit on fluency and show children and show our students that that in reading there is a way that reading sounds, and so you would use the Three Bears reading fluency that you really want it to be um, just right. You want your fluency. You don't want to run too fast. So use that um, anchor chart as teaching them about fluency this 6 weeks. Also, media literacy, which we always seem to struggle with, but kids have this in their lives every single day about looking at how sound and pictures go together and what do you notice about those? So one of the things is they love the story Where the Wild Things Are. I've given you a link to the website for Where the Wild Things Are. I want you to maybe show them a trailer and talk about, we go to the movies all the time, and how does media, what do they do on websites to get us like a movie trailer? So here's the link to that, and you want students to notice the sound of the video, what's the music doing, and how did that affect the story? So those are some of the ways that you could help them understand beginning media literacy on that. Next, now you're starting into your guided reading, and I want to really encourage you to use your Jan Richardson book and to use the templates. If you're still going to have some kids that are probably in the pre-A stage, and so you'll want to pull that. I've given you the link here for those resources as well. But what you want to do is you want to follow this guided reading plan. Is really take a look in the guided reading book in pages 106 through 143 for the guided reading, because it really explains, you don't want to do each one of these. You want to do sight words. You want to do a little bit about what the book is about and maybe any new vocabulary that they're going to do. And then while they're reading, remember that this is before, during, you're going to, what's one of these things? What are they doing here? And it goes right back to what our focus lesson is, checking the picture, covering the ending, breaking the words apart. So we're doing that in focus lesson. Now we're going to do this in guided reading. And then your teaching points afterwards. Are they doing those type of things and holding them accountable for those type of things? And that will move them really through A. And then make sure that you have a discussion prompt, and then teach one sight word. And then in your Jan Richardson book, these are the things that she goes into detail telling you how to do that. So each part of this is really gone over in part. In day 2 of that book, you're going to do a lot of the same thing, but you're really going to focus on the behaviors that you had in day 1. But one of the pieces that I really want you to focus on, and that really brings it together, is having that guided writing piece, to them writing something about what they've read, pulling in maybe those sight words and things, so it all just comes together. So once again, you have a lot of resources. Really stress for you to use your guided reading library. Um, um, if you don't understand how to use it, give us a call. The coaches will help you, or I'll come and help you. RAS Kids, you should be starting that with your kids, and also Reading A to Z, where you have access to lots of great books that really can engage kids and teach them those skills we need. So let's look at the writing expectations. So I know that it's writing in kindergarten is really different at the first, and it's a lot of fun, because let's take a look at what are some of the things we're expecting them to do. We want them to write or draw independently. Remember, a kindergartner is still at that developmental stage where they might need to draw their picture, and then you need to help them to figure out what the sounds that are putting down the sounds about what their picture is about. We want to generate ideas for writing and drawing, because a lot of times they won't have that. We're going to begin our writing notebook, whatever it looks like for you, that's going to be their handbook, to put those things in. We want them drawing pictures that match written text. We want them to hear and record sounds for all the letters, and we want to make sure that they're forming those letters right. As you walk around, make sure that take notes. If they're not forming those letters right, then take them in your guided reading time, when they're making sure that when they're in that writing piece, showing them how to form those letters correctly. We want to hold them accountable for those sight words. Those ones that we've already introduced, they should be on the word wall, and they need to be right in front of them, maybe with their little dictionaries. and saying, you know that sight word, I need you to spell it correctly. And then apply letter sound to label pictures and record sounds representing words in a message. So our lead standard is they're going to dictate or write sentences, tell a story, to put those in a chronological order, and then we're going to maintain a writer's handbook. Now, whatever that you want that to look like, we have a document, but that's for you to decide what you want in your classroom. So they are writing sentences. We want them writing. For the partner standard, we want them writing lists, captions, or invitations using those sight words. In the writing process, let's take a look at what we want them doing this 6 weeks. We want them to self-select ideas for writing based on personal knowledge and experience as they plan. We want them to contribute ideas and letter sound knowledge to retell the events in a class experience. So you're going to do a lot of shared writing with them in front of them during your focus lesson. And then we want them to expect to read, check for clarity. Does this make sense when they're revising? And then, and the edit is we're holding them accountable for those high frequency words that we've already secured. Once again, we're going to do pronouns, and then in Spanish it's personal pronouns. And I can't stress enough, we want them using correct letter formation. You are the foundation, so we need them moving in the right direction. We need them to really be producing that correct letter formation. So what were some of your focus lessons? Okay, once again, in your focus lessons, you're going to start with great mentor texts that show kids and give kids ideas about what to write about. In your overview, it lists a couple of those that are great that you want to use. Now is Thanksgiving time. You might want to spend some time on reading some Thanksgiving books and let them think about what do they do during Thanksgiving. So you just need to be using lots of narrative and informational text to encourage them to write about things that they know. As you're introducing your writing notebook, once again, you can look at using a writer's notebook in the little handout that we have for you. But what we really want to do is get kids to really focus on, remember about what is it, generating ideas about what they want to write about. One of the ways I found something that was really cute, and I think it's Lucy Calkins that does this, is maybe you want to do a focus lesson about where do you start, make a heart, and put everything in there. Let them draw pictures of everything that they would really like to, what really what's interesting to them. Like my little grandson loves Tony Romo, so he'd probably put Tony Romo over there. He's really into football, and he might draw a football that he's going to do that. But we want them putting as many ideas, so helping them generate ideas for what they're going to be doing. We also want to make sure that we have an alphabet chart and that you might use a dictionary showing them how to use that type of thing. When they're writing that first little sentence that they're doing, how do they use that word wall to do that? So those are some of the focus lessons that you would do during your focus lessons. Model and practice generating questions by starting the sentence with a question word. Like what do question words sound like? Read books with question-answer patterns and discuss how the order of the words in a sentence determine whether it asks a question or it makes a sentence. For a list of books, remember in your Norma Jackson, you have question-answer books. You have that. You're also going to introduce the Brave Speller Chart and use it to celebrate the courage of words. So that would be a focus lesson that you show kids how to use their speller and how they're going to give it a try. And then just remember, here is your Unit 3 writing what your how are words alike and different. So we're going to generate ideas. We're going to use standing on the shoulders to show how authors use SmartMove. You're going to introduce your writing notebook, and you're going to get to a stage 3. You want to demonstrate letter sound knowledge greater than a stage 3. We want them hearing recording sounds to represent the words. And then including a letter sound picture chart to locate letters, so having that resource with them. And then once again, forming all those letters correctly and spelling those kindergarten sight words and making sure they secure those, and to have space between their words. So as we conference, what I want to talk to you about as you walk around, you need to think about what is it that you're looking for. And the unit overview tells you you're looking for, are they using an alphabet chart or alphabet strip to confirm the formation of the letters? Are they using the word wall to check for accurate spelling of a word? Are they adding detail to the picture? So there may be some that are still doing pictures. So you want to, as you're walking around, you want to rove the room with your clipboard or whatever, and making notes about where each child is, so you'll know exactly where they are in their writing. And remember to set aside about 2 to 3 minutes of every writing session to guide students to go back to that habits of mind you introduced it last 6 weeks. Looking at that, referring back to that, it's a rinse and repeats of those habits of mind. Does it make sense? Does it look right? Does it sound like? So that's what you're looking for in their writing. We just want to thank you for watching the previews. We appreciate you taking the time this last time to do the discussions. I really enjoyed reading what you had to say, and then I really tried to use that to do the next preview. And I'm really impressed how you read others and you posted and you commented. That's the whole idea of the discussion. So great collaboration. We want you also to really keep in mind that we are having C3 time with the coordinators. We will be sending out information about when that happens. That is a time that you come and meet with us, and you can ask us any questions about what you need. So we just want to thank you, and I hope this curriculum preview helps you, and let us